John here. And real quick, want to throw this in here. This is me and Matt Thomas, aka studioredband, and this is one of a few parts, so there's more parts to come. But this is where we dive into and discuss Lost Sly films. And really interesting stuff here. You know, we look at films that were considered at one point or talked about with Stallone in mind, but it just never happened, never got off the ground. And it's interesting to look back at what could have been. Yeah, for this one, we're discussing some miscellaneous projects and, more notable ones we'll get to here pretty soon. But yeah, for this one, it's more, some miscellaneous projects. But yeah, hope you enjoy. And again, me and Matt Thomas here as we dive into and discuss some of these unproduced projects. So hope you enjoy and have a good day. Get into the Bodyguard, which is the first in this set of notes. And this one I've actually heard before, but there's more to this movie that interesting information here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It says The Bodyguard, mid 1970s to early 1980s, one of Sylvester Stallone's first scripts he wrote back in the mid 70s. For the longest time, it was rumored that it was something similar to Man on Fire, but after reading it, I can confirm that it's not true. Not much else is known about The Bodyguard of the script, but when he was asked about it in one interview years ago, and he would still made the film and star in it, Stallone said that he would maybe just direct the film instead, since there is more background about it, and the fact that I skipped over. Here's the full synopsis below. Gordon Taxx is a Vietnam veteran, former Special Forces soldier, expert marksman, and martial artist who now works as a bodyguard for hire in Los Angeles. His latest client is Susan, a divorced woman who hires him because she's afraid that Tom, her ex-husband, who wants to hurt her and her two kids, Bobby and Julie. Tom shows up at the house during the night while Gordon is guarding them. Although he yells a lot at his wife and insults her and his kids, he doesn't do anything else. Gordon gets him out and tries talking to him to convince him that he should move on. But Tom refuses to listen, so Gordon has to threaten him to stay away.
Huh.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So Gordon works for a few more clients after Susan. One time he stays with an old woman who is dying, and although she has to stay in her bed when she asks him to dance with her, he does because he likes that she is not afraid of her death. However, his client is someone completely different, a young woman who tells him how she is afraid that someone wants to hurt her, so she hires him to watch her anywhere she goes. But then he is tricked by her and her boyfriend to watch them having sex. And then she admits that enraged Gordon destroys their bedroom and leaves. Throughout the script, Gordon has several conversations with his psychiatrist, a woman called Georgette. She can tell that Gordon has some mental problems and wants to help him, but although they do have interesting chemistry between each other, Gordon is being very helpful and is not being very helpful, and he often lets his anger get the better of him, especially after that experience. Kind of sounds like The Sopranos a bit.
Yeah.
So sometime after the incident, with the perverted couple, Gordon meets with Susan again and sees that she has been beaten very badly. She tells him that Tom came back and went insane and wanted to know everything about him, and that he wants to kill him. Gordon checks his answering machine, which has a few messages by Tom, and they are all the same, just him saying, "You're dead." It's like fucking. You're fucking dead.
Who would play Tom?
Tom Arnold.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why it popped up in my head. Maybe like a Kurtwood Smith, like that type.
Yeah, I can see that. You're dead, Tom.
Can you
You're dead, Gordon.
can you fly, Gordon?
Can you fly, Gordon? Fuck. So they
It
both
was
go
Dick
to her
Jones.
home.
No,
But
but
other Tom was already there and killed the housekeeper by slashing her to death and drowned Bobby and Julie in the bathtub. After seeing this, Susan takes the gun she had and kills herself before Gordon can stop her. Kind of reminds me of that fucking Netflix ballad of what the fuck, that cowboy movie. Anyway, Gordon feels guilty for what has happened, despite Georgette telling him that it's not his fault. When they get to his home, Gordon finds out that Tom broke in and butchered his dog, another dog, kind of like Cobra. We talked about that last time, how they killed Cobra's dog. So Gordon knows that Tom has followed him, so he gets his 44 automatic Magnum and goes after him. He drives in his Porsche for Tom, who's following him in his car, to make his move. And when he does, Gordon tries to shoot him, but Tom shoots at his car window and glass cuts Gordon's forehead. However, he still chases after Tom until he gets into a train. After finding out that the train is going to Chicago, Gordon jumps in his car and goes on the highway, hoping to get there before it. Not caring for his wound and blood that has covered his face, he is so furious by this point that he imagines killing Tom as soon as he sees him. Because of that almost slams into a truck. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of like one of those specialist kind of movies. Kind of feels like it could be like a specialist kind.
yeah, it's like
they could have made this the next specialist movie, maybe.
that. The main character is so out of it mentally. Like he has this fixation on killing this Tom character that he almost slams into another truck.
Yeah. So Gordon hallucinates a few more different versions of the same thought while he's on the road, each stranger than the other, which really shows that he has started to lose his mind, both from what he's been through and probably the pills that he's taking to keep on going. Kind of reminds me of like the Rambo, like that other version of Rambo where he was just like even the Morale version of Rambo, where he's trying to figure out how he's going to kill Teasel before Teasel can arrest him. Okay, so when he has to stop to get his car fixed, he loses several hours on it, which means that he has to go even faster. So he pops some hard rock music, takes some pills, and floors the car going over 180.
Yeah.
He even outruns a police car, which tries to chase him and then gives up. Gordon calls the cops over the radio and explains to them what happened in LA and demands a clear road. After checking his information, they agree to let him go. Kind of has like that vanishing point feel. It would have been cool to see Sly doing a lot of drugs back then, because he's never really gotten into that area, right?
This is why it would seem like this is something that would come out in the early 80s, maybe. Because you mentioned at the top, mid 70s to early 80s, so maybe after First Blood he could have done this.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a totally different type of Stallone character, in a way,
Yeah.
Like I could see it. I could see it coming out then, but I could also see it coming out during that period of like, either specialists or assassins or somewhere. It feels like one of those kind of like pre Get Carter kind of movies he did.
It does kind of feel like a Man on Fire, but more. What would you say? Like what other film you could throw in there that kind of
Well, what was that? The Chase, that Charlie Sheen movie?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen.
Kind of like that, but not really. But
because at this point, he's fixed on tracking down this guy to where he's taking drugs, he's speeding, and I don't know why I'm getting like thoughts of, okay, this should have happened in the 80s, and can you imagine Sly going down the road at 180 and you get a great soundtrack in the back, and this
Yeah, that would.
maybe it wouldn't have been action packed, but it definitely would have been like a sort of a high octane thriller, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally see that.
Maybe if you had Michael Mann direct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jane
That could be
Hammer
really
provide the
cool.
score. Yeah.
Get some Guns N' Roses in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so after realizing that he only has 1 hour left to get to Chicago, Gordon takes the last pill and pushes his car to go 200 miles per hour. He has to struggle to keep himself on the road. Finally, he arrives in Chicago, but has to leave his car and it runs out of gas. He gets to the station despite being exhausted and sees that the train has arrived. But he realizes that he left his gun in the car. Not wanting to go back for it, he's searching around for Tom and he finds him. Tom tries to run away and Gordon chases him on foot. Tom realizes that Gordon has no gun, so while he is still on the tracks, he turns around and shoots him with his gun a few times. Gordon falls and Tom thinks he has won, but he failed to notice that he is standing on the tracks right when the express train is coming. Gordon is still conscious and sees Tom's grisly death, and then he gets up, revealing that he had a bulletproof vest. And while everyone around him are asking what the hell happened, Gordon just asks for a phone.
So that would have been cool.
Yeah, that could have been interesting.
And I was trying to think like what other films you can throw in there that kind of gives you like this one. What kind of vibes do you get? Or
It definitely feels like something that would. It's like one of those things where it's like, what year would it have landed? It's really interesting. See, like maybe like Sam Peckinpah directed, or
it's like
maybe
if Michael
Paul Verhoeven.
if Michael Mann directed like a Man on Fire type of film in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I could see while this film may not have the action of, let's say, a Cobra or, around that time other Stallone films like Rambo 3 and all that, but
mm-hmm.
I can see this having a lot of suspense and thrills and.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting. That's for sure. Because it's a different type of Stallone film.
Yeah, or Brian De Palma, he could direct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A De Palma or what was that guy who was on Joe Rogan?
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone. Yeah.
But really cool, really interesting to. Because like I said, I've heard about this one before, but it didn't. The one time that I read about it in the past, it wasn't this in depth.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
So that's Stallone's The Bodyguard.
Yeah, like I heard about this one around the same time as like Maggie's Eyes, which was he was supposed to be like helping a blind lady, and then you go even further down to like what was the James Byron Huggins who wrote him for Hunter wrote another feature for him. Fuck, what was it called? Big Hat. It kind of reminded me of Maggie's Eyes, but instead of the chick being blind, Stallone was blind.
Huh.
Dark Visions. And James told me that he, like, literally blinded himself for the whole time he wrote the book, and he said it was very scary. Yeah. That's another one, like, I don't know, I plan on reviewing it soon, because it's just a really great book. I know there's some in this list, actually, which I didn't notice before, that I've actually started reading, that I picked up books for. I think it was Midnight Club and The Executioner.
Yeah, I think the Executioner's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
But
The Simpsons rock.
that's one down, 26 to go.
Yeah. Like
That,
I contacted her about it, and she said that they were gonna do it. They paid her to do it, but they never did it. So
huh?
that would have been interesting. That would have been interesting. You want to do Soldier?
Yeah, we could do Soldier. There's a little bit information here about Soldier, also known as the base.
Yeah, 1982, 83. I believe they wrote this one, him and Ted Kotcheff on Rambo, right?
This is my first time hearing about this one.
Okay, so screenwriter David Webb Peoples, who wrote the scripts for the films like Blade Runner 1982, Leviathan 1989, Unforgiven 1992, and amongst other things did some uncredited work on a script for Predator 1987, back when it was titled Hunter, which is out in comic book form for the first time right now with the Van Damme Mantis Predator.
I saw a new image of that today. Like I had to, if I can find that image again, I'll look for it. But there's a new image. Maybe it's out there already, but Van Damme's in the suit, that praying mantis looking creature suit.
Well, also, I heard that this was going to be a spiritual sequel to Blade Runner. I think there's actually some stuff left in the Soldier movie that tie it to Blade Runner. But anyway, yeah, back when it was titled Hunter, wrote the original script for Soldier back in 1982 and 83 when it was originally called The Base. Sylvester Stallone and Ted Kotcheff were going to make the film based on it after they made First Blood. But once Stallone walked away, Schwarzenegger was considered for the role around the time of 1985 after he did Commando. And while Kotcheff was still involved to direct the film, Montreal Ted Kotcheff, baby.
Yeah.
And then Clint Eastwood got involved for some time and was going to direct and star in the film before he also left the project. And the script went from studio to studio for like 15 years before Paul W.S. Anderson got it and made the movie, even though he and others also wrote some of it before filming started. This is interesting too because I always get confused with the Clint Eastwood thing. I always think, Clint Eastwood was going to be the good guy and Stallone was going to be the bad guy. I always felt like that.
Now, this is leading up to the 1998 Soldier with Kurt Russell. This is what it ultimately became.
Yeah, that's good. He corrected that here for me, so that's good. Yeah, and I love that movie. That's such a great movie.
I need to watch it again. I have the film.
I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
Man.
I haven't seen it like since it hit you. But I remember loving that movie. So, however, based on recently found 1985 draft of the script, it seems like the final film was very close to the original script. So we can still imagine how difficult it would be if it was Stallone starring Schwarzenegger or Eastwood.
How do you think, those three would have
It could have been interesting. Like any way you want to go about it, And like you couldn't even fit the three of them in there.
Yeah.
Well,
like I said, I haven't seen Soldier in a while, and it doesn't really go into like plot details. I mean, that's kind of what we have on Soldier here at the base. So I wonder what was different, or what led up to Soldier that we got that they thought about in the 80s when they were doing this, when they were working on the script. Like, what changes?
It makes you wonder, too, like, if they would have made it in 83, like, right after Rambo, right? Say if they did it, like, the practicality, like, what it would look like compared to the version that we got where CGI was just starting to come in bigger and bigger and bigger, and there was a lot of cut corners. It makes you wonder, like, okay, what they could have done with it if they couldn't cut corners and they had to like physically build everything.
Everything would have been more practical. I could see definitely that Blade Runner type of backdrop. But who would direct?
Yeah. There's only one man. Honestly, I would say Ted Kotcheff, give it to him. Because Kotcheff, I don't know. Kotcheff he's such a great director because he's like a chameleon. He can go do comedy. He can go do, drama and like action and horror. Like he's one of those great directors that, goddamn,
Yeah.
goddamn, I wish there was more Ted Kotcheff. And it was sad when I saw Ted Kotcheff a couple of years ago, and I got the chance to meet him, and it was just sad because you could tell that he's still trying to move forward, and you can tell that he's madly in love with what he does, but you can also tell that time is cruel to people, right?
Yeah.
So it's great. I love him. I think that he would have been perfect for this. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
But it sounds interesting. I mean, like I said, I wonder, because we don't have any plot details, like what changes did they made or what was changed over the years leading up to the 1998 movie.
Yeah. Imagine, if Clint Eastwood starred, it would be so perfect. Imagine that, Stallone would have been a villain.
It would have been
I
different.
can still see it as Stallone as a villain.
It would have been different for Eastwood, for sure.
Yeah. That could have been pretty interesting.
He would have, taken a break from the Dirty Harry movies.
Yeah.
I mean, what was coming out around this time? Sudden Impact or one of the Dirty Harrys?
Oh, somewhere, yeah, something around there. Man. Yeah, this is one I always think back to. It's like the 6 degrees of separation in this one.
Yeah.
It fits over so many different possibilities film-wise, especially if you're looking at meta film. It's a very interesting piece. Yeah.
And next, I know we're about to get into Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, which is a cool surprise that Jack filled me in on not too long ago, and it's just wow. I was really, he sent me this following the passing of Mr. Dennehy, R.I.P. And it's just one of those ones that makes you think. One of those ones that make you think. Like, if they would have done this, this could have been their trilogy piece, Fist, First Blood, Lethal Weapon.
And this is where when Stallone was considered. I mean, and again, this is the information that's in front of me right here. This is the first time I'm going to listen to. And before we get into that, is there anything that you know about this, or that you can say off right off the bat?
This was a new one that Jack brought to my attention, and like I was saying before, it would have been interesting to see Stallone and Dennehy together again, because this could have been their trilogy, it could have been Fist and then First Blood and then Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird, if it was aligned, if it was in the stars, it could have been pretty interesting to see. I don't know if I would have. I think I love too much the Lethal Weapon that's out there to kind of consider it as, if I would rather this one or not. But yeah, very cool, very different.
Yeah, we got a lot of info here on this one, so this ought to be cool to listen to.
Yeah. So it says Lethal Weapon, 1985-1986. Sylvester Stallone was one of about 40 actors who were considered to play Martin Riggs before Mel Gibson was cast. Some others include Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell, Bruce Willis, Patrick Swayze, Harrison Ford, and Michael Biehn, and many more. If Stallone was cast, this would have made this would have been made right after Cobra, another film he did for Warner Brothers, who also produced Lethal Weapon. And just like in First Blood, he would again play another mentally disturbed Special Forces Vietnam veteran. So the interesting thing is that the role of Murtaugh was at one point offered to Brian Dennehy, who co-starred with Sly in First Blood and Fist, but Dennehy refused because he already played a cop or detective a few times in other films. So Joel Silver was originally wanting Ridley Scott to direct the film, just like how he wanted him to direct the early version of Isobar before Scott left due to creative differences. So Scott did not. Scott did direct Black Rain 1989. Still got to see that, which is sort of a buddy cop film, just like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Black Rain's a great one.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen that one yet. Is that the one with Michael Douglas?
Yeah, where he goes to Japan.
Yeah, with the samurai sword on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but let me make one thing clear to avoid any confusion. Stallone, Dennehy, and Scott were never involved in the film at the same time, so this is more of a what-if possibility. If somehow all three of them made their version of Lethal Weapon, and one which was based on the original script before changes that were made on it by Richard Donner and Joel Silver. So Shane Black wrote the original script for the first Lethal Weapon film in 1985, and later sold it to Warner Brothers for $250,000. But even though the script got a lot of praise, it was drastically changed before filming began in the summer of '86. The original script was much darker and more violent. Riggs and Murtaugh had a lot more backstory, which involved their time in the Vietnam War, and it was included that Riggs remembering how good he was at killing and how many people he had killed, and Murtaugh also had a flashback where he remembered how he accidentally killed a young American soldier with his bare hands during training. There was also more backstory for Joshua, which explained how he, just like Riggs, he was an infamous assassin during the war, and how they both knew of each other's reputations. This is interesting because it's like, I wonder if they knew this premise going in, like Mel and Danny. Because Murtaugh, you always wonder why he's so off guard.
Yeah.
You know, like he's always, it's a big thing when he does something, right? He's always kind of like Reginald Vell Johnson in Die Hard, how he's kind of stand back.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to be in a situation where it could hurt an innocent person. So it's interesting because if they knew that going in, it adds a lot more dimension to Murtaugh.
Or because Riggs is so crazy that, Murtaugh has to sort of keep his own distance, if you will.
Yeah. But it also shows that fatherly, which one was it where he shot the kid?
Oh, Lethal Weapon 3?
Yeah. It kind of plays on that in a way. Very interesting. So the main villains were also more dangerous, which they kidnapped Rianne. Joshua also kills her boyfriend by stabbing him in the head, and later they cut one of her fingers off and send it to Murtaugh.
So it would have been darker.
Yeah. Whew. No more commercials for you.
Yeah.
So Riggs was even bigger psycho in the script, and he wasn't funny like he is in the film. In the script, he owned an arsenal of guns in his home.
Talking about Riggs?
Oh, sorry?
Are we talking about Riggs?
Yeah.
Okay.
In his home, and he would also carry several different weapons with him wherever he goes. Everything from steel boots, which he would really fuck up anyone who would get hit by one of those. Sorry. And throwing ninja stars. And in one of his first scenes, he even uses a rocket launcher, to kill a sniper who shot and killed several kids in a school, which also goes a little bit darker. And later in the script, Riggs goes so far to even capture and torture one of the bad guys for information. In the scene where he gets free and saves Roger and Rianne, unlike in the movie where he only kills a few guys with a gun, in the script he fucking loses his mind at that point from everything he's been through and just fucking wipes out a room full of bad guys with using his martial arts skills. He even gets stabbed in the chest with a bayonet, but then pulls it out with no problem since he is in full rage mode and shoots several more bad guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember Jack telling us about that. Oh man, it was a couple of years ago? I think we did that one. Where Riggs went crazy, that berserker Riggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ending was completely different. It had a big chase scene where the police was chasing Joshua and General McAllister while they were escaping in the trailer truck full of guns and drugs through the Hollywood Hills. Joshua shoots down a police helicopter with a napalm missile, which caused it to crash into the Hollywood sign and start a big fire. Then Murtaugh shoots and kills McAllister, who was driving the truck, so it crashes down the hills and explodes. Riggs and Joshua would then have sort of a cat and mouse foot chase through the hills, and Riggs even manages to shoot one of Joshua's ears off. And in the final fight at Murtaugh's house, he blows up Joshua's hand and kills him by stabbing him with a finger into the eye to the brain, right to the brain. I remember hearing about this on the new Blu-ray, the documentary on the new Blu-ray.
Uh-huh.
And it was like snowing cocaine and there was all this craziness.
Like death by eye poke, really?
Yeah.
But going deep into the through the eye and into the brain.
That would have been sick.
What do you call it? Lobotomy? No. Is that what you?
Whew. Lobotomy? I'm not sure what that is. Like, I know they do something to your brain.
Yeah, lobotomy, but that's with the rod. But very interesting. I mean, it sounds like it would have been darker.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have had more backstory to Riggs and Murtaugh.
For sure. That could have been pretty. That could have been sick. Trying to imagine Stallone and Dennehy in that too is like.
They were once enemies. Now they're partners.
Together again.
Yeah.
This summer. Fuck.
It'd be something like that.
Lethal Saxon. John Saxon, R.I.P.
Yeah, that we just heard about that before we started. Before we started on this part here, because we took a little break and we heard about John. Rest in peace, John Saxon.
Mm-hmm.
He's passed away, unfortunately.
That's sad too, because he was great. Never had a problem with John Saxon.
Yeah, Enter the Dragon, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
He is a great actor.
Yeah, sad. Sad. Regis too is pretty sad.
Yeah, Regis Philbin, that came out of nowhere. Rest in peace to both of them. And now we're on to, if you want to do 50-50.
Yeah, 50-50. All right, hold on a second here. Okay, so 50-50, 1989, sometime in the 1980s, screenwriter Dennis Chirac and Michael Butler wrote a script titled 50-50, which was about two mercenaries who were paid by the CIA to take down a dictator of some Southeast Asian country. Sylvester Stallone read the script and was interested in making the film based on it. And at one point, he and Eddie Murphy were going to even star.
Imagine that.
That would be cool.
Beverly Hills Cobra.
Yeah. Axel and Cobretti. But the closest Stallone got to making this film was when he and Kurt Russell wanted to make some movie together. And they were thinking about making 50-50, but instead they picked one other script. The setup by Randy Feldman, good old Randy Feldman, which was later changed and retitled into Tango and Cash. This means Stallone was involved in 50-50 around 1989 or earlier. Sometime later in 1990, Cannon Group bought the script, and originally they wanted to make the film with Chuck Norris and Michael Dudikoff. That could have been interesting.
Definitely.
However, Norris refused to because he had already made several films in the jungle and didn't want to make another one and spend months working in some jungle again. I don't blame you, Chuck.
Yeah.
I don't blame you. Hearing those Rambo 2 horror stories with this fucking giant centipedes and snakes and shit, no way. So actor and director Charles Martin Smith, who is known for films like American Graffiti, Starman, and The Untouchables, was hired to direct the film and he cast Peter Weller and Robert Hayes to star in the film. It was filmed in 1990 and 1991, but wasn't released in theaters until 1993, but to no success. Wow, I didn't even know they made that film.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
I'm going to have to watch that now.
With Peter Weller and Robert Hayes, the 50-50.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was out. Damn. So when Stallone and Russell were going to start to make the film, Stallone was going to play Peter Weller's role, and Russell was going to play Hayes' role. So if you know about the film already, you can try and imagine how different it would have been with two of them starring in it. You can check out the trailers and clips of it online if you can find it.
That's cool. Yeah, I've heard about the film through YouTube and through people up here that I've talked about it. I've never seen 50-50. All right, now we're going to talk about The Executioner. And so what's this one about? I mean...
this was a Mac Bolan series by Pendleton. I think with Don... Yeah, it says here Don Pendleton. There was a lot of speculation to say that one of the earlier works Stallone used for Rambo 2, Return to Vietnam. I spoke a little bit with Pendleton's wife, and she says that Stallone only got the rights around this time, 1988 to 1990, so she has no idea about that from beforehand. But this is when it's always captured my imagination, because you know, that's like, that could have been, that there's like 2,000 books. You know, this could have been like The Specialist, you know, like The Specialist, it was like 11 specialist novels. It could have been a bigger thing, you know?
Might it could have been more.
It could have been, Sly could have had 2 franchises. Well, he still had The Specialist, but imagine if they would have made more specialists.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be interesting to see now. Sly come back and do a specialist series and do all the other books.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. But this is a weird one. Yeah. I think there was a comic series too on this. Executioner. So between 1988 and 1990, Stallone was going to star in an adaptation of Don Pendleton's The Executioner novels. During these years, several scripts were written for the film. Some of the writers who worked on the project included Hilary Henkin, who also wrote Roadhouse, Edward Neumer, and Michael Miner, who wrote RoboCop and Starship Troopers. And it's a possibility that Stallone wrote his own version as well. I didn't know that a female director did Roadhouse. That's pretty cool.
Oh, she wrote Roadhouse.
Yeah. So not much else is known about this film. It was going to be produced by Joel Silver and Coralco. So maybe it was one of 10 films Sly was supposed to do for Coralco before they went bankrupt. They did make some promotional ads for the project. Like, for example, this one here at https Sad.
Bands
BANDSA.
about movies.
Yeah, BANDSA about movies. .files.wordpress.com /2019 /08 /IMG _4363.jpg ?W lowercase w equals 739 and h equals 481.
There you go.
There you go.
I don't have to post a link. Yeah. Just click on it. Yeah, just copy and paste what Matt said. Yeah.
William Friedkin was going to direct the film, and Cynthia Rothrock was going to play his partner. Sly's character was going to be more of a wild card, while Rothrock would have been the more cool-headed one. We talked about this one a lot, I think a couple of times with Jack. And I think that book was Assault on... Fuck. It was like the UK somewhere.
I never heard of this one, so...
Yeah, I talked to Cynthia a bit about this, and she said that they were paid to do it, they were going to do it, but they didn't do it. So it would have been interesting to see... It would have been really interesting to see Sly and Cynthia Rothrock. I'm in the process of reading it now. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so I think we're at reason why...
Yeah.
Reason why this one was canceled because Friedkin didn't see eye to eye with Sly and Silver and hated working with them and the script they wanted to go with. Steve McQueen was also supposed to star in an adaptation of The Executioner in 1970. And in the early 80s, Burt Reynolds was planning on making an entire series of films based on the novels, and with Clint Eastwood starring, that could have been fucking sick.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, Vin Diesel was also trying to make the film adaptation, but was just another one of his projects from that time which went nowhere. Like, for example, an action thriller, Dreadnought, which would have been about most high-tech warship ever, build a rookie captain who mutinies against his crew after they accidentally shoot down a passenger jet and are ordered to kill all survivors.
Huh.
Yeah, that could be really interesting. In 2014, screenwriter Shane Salerno was going to write and make a PG-13 version of The Executioner starring Bradley Cooper, which I'm guessing got canceled, and it's possibly a good thing considering Salerno's other work, like both Alien vs. Predator films.
I thought Paul Anderson directed AVP, so... Yeah, okay, okay, he may have wrote... Okay, I see what he's saying. He wrote the AVP movies.
Mm-hmm.
So we got different versions here of The Executioner.
Yeah. I would have liked to see the Sly and Cynthia Rothrock. I think that could.
That would have been a good team up right there.
And it's like kind of like,
directed by...
they could have that out to other people. So Sly doesn't have to carry all the load. They can, make other... Like James Bond, how they make them with different actors.
And directed by William Friedkin.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. All right. So now...
Now we're getting into one that I've heard about before.
Mm-hmm.
But talking about Bartholomew versus Neff.
Yeah, 1990, 1991. There's a mock-up trailer for this as a TV show on YouTube. It's pretty funny.
I've seen, there's a picture out there, and if you find it, if you dig deep enough, there's like a billboard for this movie that was like in LA somewhere.
Wow.
It was like just...
I've never seen that. That would be really cool to see.
But it was just like text, like the title of the film, and it had the names of the top Stallone and John Candy. So yeah, for people out there who haven't heard this film, some people have, but this was going to be like a comedy about feuding neighbors, starring Stallone and John Candy.
Yeah, this could have been magical. I'm with this 100%. I wish this, we've been like grumpy old men.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome. So this was another Stallone Chronicle project, which was almost made, written by John Hughes, who was also going to produce and direct the film. It was going to be a comedy about two feuding neighbors whose friendship disintegrates as they go to war with each other and battle to the finish over their garden fence. Stallone was going to play a former professional baseball player who lives next door to Candy, a corporate banker type. Hughes wrote the script around the summer of 1990, and production was set to begin the next summer in 1991. Just like they did with some of their other unproduced films, Crawco made some promotional stuff, like, for example, this board here.
Okay,
I guess that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's probably what... And sorry about that noise. I was trying to click on the link and it made some noise, but that's probably the billboard I thought about that I saw that I came across one time.
Yeah, and that's at http://bandsaboutfilms.files.wordpress.com/2019/08/bartho.jpg $w equals 739 at H, or and H, sorry, the and symbol, equals 627.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So, however, he ended up being very busy with directing Curly Sue, which turned out to be last movie he directed, and running the script for Home Alone 2. So the production was delayed for some time, but not like it mattered, since it was yet another one of Stallone Chronicle projects, which was canceled. I gotta check out that board. And I think the art on the other one, on the Mac Bolan one, that one's cool too. It's a picture from Cobra where he's in the motel. It's pretty cool.
Man.
I think there was another picture around there too of what he could have looked at like during that time, with like the long Rambo hair.
Yeah.
The Rambo hair.
Well, this would have been a switch. I mean, from playing, especially around this time, 1990, which coming off Rocky V and going into like Oscar, so he was definitely in that sort of comedy switch at the time. Mm-hmm. And Candy coming off Home Alone, it probably would have been a nice time to do this movie. How do you think it would have turned out?
I think it would have been good.
I think it would have been, especially directed by John Hughes.
Yeah, like I can't see it going wrong. Like even like there's say like sometimes I saw all these cheesy stuff or whatever, you can totally see that John Hughes would have like worked around it.
Yeah.
He's one of those directors that really takes their time to work around everything. So you could tell that like he would capture that, maybe even that impish younger side of Sly. Like the more go get it Sly. But that could have been cool, especially with the contrast of John Candy. Like, wow. Because John Candy was just so, like... I don't think I've ever seen a bad John Candy performance.
Yeah.
Ever. He's always on. And you hear all these stories about John Candy, too. Like, how he was. And wow. It's sad that there's no John Candy in 2020.
Yeah, we could certainly use him right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think Stallone, if playing this professional baseball player, like that type of character, how do you think Sly would have?
It kind of reminds me of that Joe Rogan show that was picked up and canceled. That Hardball, the baseball player one. Joe Rogan was a baseball player.
I didn't know about that. I don't know about that one.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, like...
Would have been different.
It would have been different. But I totally trust John Hughes with this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially the way he, like, develops characters and...
Yeah.
And great character moments. Like, maybe you could see how this would be, like, 85% comedy, and, like, towards the end you would have some touching moments.
Yeah.
Sort of like with Planes and Trains.
Yeah. Aw, man.
But I would love to have seen that one.
Oh, definitely. Somewhere there's an alternate universe where that movie happened.
Yeah.
Damn, I wish I could be there.
And getting into the Midnight Club.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
Yeah.
Have you heard about this one before, or is this?
Yeah, I came across this one a while back. I want to say a couple of years ago now. And I found it when I was looking for some Rambo 3 stuff. I think there was a press junket for it when Sly still had his long hair. Yeah, it's a book. It's based off of a book, and I picked up the book, and it's pretty good so far. It's pretty gory. He gets the Alex Murphy treatment in this one.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic. It could have been interesting because, it's like he's totally decimated, so he has to, like, fight crime in a wheelchair, kind of.
This ought to be cool.
Yeah, and I think they said, like, I can't remember what the tagline for the film was, but something from the chair, or stand down, get ready to fight, or something like that.
Huh.
Yeah. Have you heard of this one before?
That's the first time hearing about this one.
Okay.
Or maybe I've heard like snippets of it in the past, or some kind of discussion we've had before. Maybe I've heard like a snippet of it, the title. But
yeah.
I didn't know much about the premise.
This is one too that is kind of like, I could see Van Damme in this one as the bad guy. I could really see it.
Pre-Expendables 2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So it says around the early 90s, while he was involved in various different projects for Coralco, which got canceled, including The Executioner, Bartholomew vs. Neff, Isobar, Gale Force, and at least a couple of different rejected versions of Rambo 4. Stallone was going to do another film with the studio titled The Midnight Club, based on a book by James Patterson. The script for the film was written by John Hertzfeld, Stallone's old friend, who was also in Cobra, in which he played Cho, sniper gang member, if I'm not mistaken. And apparently he was going to direct the film. That's the Miranda guy, right? You have the right to remain silent, and he fucking lights him on fire.
Yeah.
So this story was about a New York police detective who was paralyzed from the waist down after he was almost killed while trying to bring down some big-time crime lord. And although he ended up in a wheelchair, he didn't give up and is still determined to get him and also have his revenge for what he did to him. And the only ones who can help him are some female journalists and Harlem cop. Here's a little short plot synopsis of the original book. From the best-selling author of Along Came a Spider and Cat and Mouse, a mesmerizing tale of non-stop action and suspense. Nobody knows the underbelly of the city like New York cop John Stefanovich, and he's out to get Alexander St. Charmy, the most powerful member of the Midnight Club, a secret international society of ruthless crime SARS, kind of like kings, all of whom are respectable businessmen. And Steph's the ideal man for the job until he's leveled by a blast from St. Charmaine's shotgun and left for dead. Now, Steph is back, wheelchair-bound, yet swore to destroy St. Charmaine. With the help of a beautiful journalist and a Harlem cop, Steph is determined to crack the Midnight Club, and he's up against odds that are as unknown as they are deadly. Yeah, they kill his girlfriend in the beginning of this, too.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah, right after they presumably kill him.
It sounds like a little bit like if John Wick is in a wheelchair and he had like the help of a journalist and a Harlem cop.
Yeah. If people want to hear all the origin story to it, I did a read. It's on my page. It's on the Old Stallone. I think it's first annual. It's the first episode I did for that show. And like I read through like the entire hit on Stallone and like how they tear him apart and everything. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty grisly.
So how do you think this one would have turned out? You know, if this was around 1990 through 92. I guess how do you see this film?
I think it could have done pretty well. I think it would have been different, like a different type of film for Sly, and at the same time, it would have given him some, something to play with.
Yeah, especially portraying
sorry.
this guy in a wheelchair. I mean, because you're so used to seeing Sly, whether it be in Cobra and other films where, you know, I mean, Sly's never played a character with the handicap or, anything
Yeah,
like that. It'd be interesting to see. You probably will get more out of Sly. You probably I think you would see more dramatic moments.
yeah, definitely. There's a cool scene with the other cop too, where he's in a foot chase with a criminal, and in the background, like they make reference to like a meta reference, like it's something out of like a Stallone film, which is pretty cool.
Who do you see directing this? I was trying to come up with some directors in my
Um,
head, but
I would like to see a Paul Verhoeven for this, just so that they wouldn't hold back, because the way it's written, it's so like you think he's gonna die, but yeah, because it's really bad. Like pieces of his spine are like flying across the street, and you know his bones like come out of his body, and he's crawling on the ground, and the guy's still coming at him, pumping that shotgun, and then bam again.
I wonder what George P. Cosmatos would have done.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, he's probably at this time coming off Leviathan,
yeah. It
but
could have been good for them too.
yeah,
They probably would have found a way to do it really cheap and yet still, good. Kind of like like Cobra, how like it kind of looked like a cheaper movie, but it's just so so great. Or like Rambo 2, how it's kind of like the less is more.
So now, when I mentioned Cobra, what I mean, I know with Stallone's character being the wheelchair here. Is there any characters that, with this main character in the wheelchair, do you get any hints of other Stallone characters that you see, like traits or like does it seem like more Cobra in the
It kind of
wheelchair?
reminds me, like, I don't want to say too much of Copland, but it reminds me of fuck. Damn, I was gonna say it before. Um, like Detox.
Okay, that's
Like
like that sort of performance.
yeah, that's the way I interpret like if I'm reading it, because I don't know if at the time that it was written it was considered for Stallone. Let me see if the notes mention it. No, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. If he knew like ahead of time.
Who do you see playing the journalist and the Harlem cop?
Um, there's who's the one from Jack Reacher? Was it Laura Linney? I don't know if that's her name, Laura Linney. From the one from, like I think it was the same one from Mothman Prophecies. The
Okay, I know who you're talking about. I forgot her name.
yeah, the one. Yeah.
Maybe why does her name leave me? The woman from Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, Dern.
Yeah, Laura Dern. Yeah, maybe someone
Yeah,
that Stallone's never worked with before.
she's great too. That movie, Citizen Ruth,
Never seen that.
really good in that.
The Harlem
I think
Cop.
Reynolds is in that too. I think.
Maybe you could have Maury Van Peebles as the Harlem Cop or something, or
Yeah, because they kind of comes off as like more of like a like that's around as far as I got with that whole foot chase thing. Uh, yeah, kind of yeah. I could see him or maybe like a Benjamin Bratt or, but that yeah, definitely someone like that.
so. I guess that's Midnight Club.
Yeah, it's really cool though. Like, it's a really cool premise, and the way it's set up is really nice. Yeah, I did about 30 minutes, the first 30 minutes of it. So if people want to check that out, I guess I can send you links for that.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the description.
Cool.
And I guess
All right,
now we're on to No Safe Haven, or
No Safe Haven.
AKA Haven.
Yeah, 1995. Was there another film that came out called Haven in like 2000 something?
I'm not sure. Is there and I kind of ask this question with every one that we tackle. Like, what have you heard about this one before? Or
Um, Not too much. I would say this is more like from what we discovered with Jack. It's like something that was, like out there, but I never really looked into it. I think we talked a bit about it because it fit in with the Gale Force episode, or
yeah,
I'll say
I mean it was
one
referenced.
or the Bodyguard or something like that.
Yeah, it was
The
referenced
Bodyguard
somewhere.
episode. Yeah. So this one says, written by Drew Yano, who weirdly enough was a lawyer, and his friend Tony Borghi, who was a real estate broker. Disgraced ex-Marine returns to Martha's Vineyard to patch up the things with his mother. At the same time, the president and his family are vacationing on the island. The militia-like gun-crazy cult shows up and takes over an entire island, and they also take the president's wife and daughter as hostages. So while he manages to escape, and soon he and ex-Marine find each other and team up to fight against the villains and save the president's family while a huge storm is raging across the island. Simply described, the script was Die Hard on Martha's Vineyard. I could have seen this around the Assassins.
Yeah.
Kind of like an assassiness kind of Stallone.
It kind of sounds like Gale Force minus the pirates.
Yeah. The pirates. Minus William
Sadler, yeah.
So Yano and Borghi wrote the script in 1995 and sold it that same year in summer to Universal Pictures for $300,000, but they would get an additional $300,000 once the movie would be made. The script was on the market for only 24 hours before Universal bought it after an 8-hour-long bidding war for it, because many other studios wanted it. That goes to show you how good the script must have been. Universal immediately had plans to have Stallone play the ex-Marine in the film, but for some reason or another, the project was canceled, which I knew why. The script did sound like it was similar to Gale Force, but it also sounded like it would have been a fun movie. In case you don't know, Martha's Vineyard is the place where the first two Jaws films were filmed. So you can imagine how Die Hard-like scenario would work in that location with all the hills, beaches, fishing villages, harbors, and big houses.
It would have been really cool. I wonder, like, what would you rather see more, like Gale Force, that type, or with this movie? Like, if
Probably go more Gale Force, but I would have been happy to see this too. It could have worked.
Yeah,
could have worked nice.
I wondered though if that title, if they were so close to doing this film, what do you think of that title though? Do you maybe think that maybe they had a small kind of play into why, okay, we're going to sell this movie called Haven or No Safe Haven? I don't know. What, I'm getting at? Like, what do you think of the title? Do you think that maybe they could have...
Maybe it's a play on, like, how it's such an ideal place to be, but there's no safety even in the most pristine of places. What really gets me is this, how much they were paid. Like the $300,000 and another $300,000 once the movie got made, right? Do you think they took into consideration, like, if we don't make it, we have to buy the rights over again?
Yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
And this, I look at this too, and this could also work. I mean, it would have been great to see Stallone in there, but it also kind of could serve as, it could serve as another vehicle for someone like a Van Damme or a
Yeah.
Bruce Willis or whoever.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Imagine doing this with like a Roy Schreider.
Yeah.
That could have been cool.
Or
When did he pass away? Roy Schreider.
mid 2000s.
Man, I wish there was more movies with that guy because that guy was great too.
Yeah, Blue Thunder, and
Yeah.
I know he was a marathon man. I still have to watch that. In 2010, I still have to watch that one. Or
Once you get the sequel to
2001, yeah.
yeah.
And there's
Yeah, I
some
guess
other,
that too. I haven't seen that yet.
or because I mean, I look at this and it would have been cool to see Stallone. I wonder if they had other people in mind too.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
because Stallone was caught up right, at this time, he was probably promoting Assassins or Judge Dredd, so
Yeah.
being tied down with those two films.
Yeah.
I wonder if Stallone ever saw this. Like, did he ever come across the script, or he's like, do I want to do this, or I don't want to do Judge Dredd? And I don't know. Do you think?
Hard too, man. Like, because imagine like he must have responsibilities already. Like, oh, we're doing this movie, we're doing that movie. I imagine like getting a really good script, and they say, oh, well, the window is this, but you can't do it sometimes. Or he said something about something else that was supposed to be like that. Fuck, I don't remember what it was. Where he said it was a film he really wanted to do, and he didn't get to do it because of just time.
Maybe what is this? Maybe it was I don't know, some other film that we discussed.
Yeah.
But this would have been like a fun sort of mid '90s action vehicle for Sly.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see this coming off of Assassins,
Yeah.
or maybe leading into Assassins.
But that's No Safe Haven.
No. Yeah. Oh, High Roller.
High
I think
Roller.
we did this a long time ago.
So what's the story with this one? Or
It's kind of like a casino movie. I don't know if Jack made reference to this in the Cliffhanger 2 episode, which I just want to apologize for my reading in that one.
are you fine?
Like, the screen was really bright with the light. It was like it was making me cross-eyed.
That's what happens when you look down the Hoover Dam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of heights. So High Roller was scheduled for 1995 or 1996, or its origin of creation or whatever. J.F. Lawton is the screenwriter who wrote the original script for Under Siege. In 1995, he wrote and sold a script called High Roller for $1 million to Savoy Pictures, independent movie studio, which operated from 1992 till 1997. The script was, as many have said, Die Hard in a casino type of movie. The plot was about some mobster who decides to take over some casino in not exactly the nicest way possible. A couple of main heroes who are trying to stop him are his ex-hitman and a gambler who also has to protect the daughter of the casino owner after mobsters took her hostage. And Stallone was going to play the hitman, but apparently studio disagreed with his $20 million deal. I guess you could thank Golden and Globus for that, to star in the film, so they never made it. And once they stopped working on it in 97, the script was never picked up again by anyone. Another sad story, a fun action film that never was. I could see this working. This could have been pretty cool. Maybe if they, like, I don't want to say Scorsese, but, maybe Scorsese could have done some. If you look at Casino, how he played with Las Vegas, or old Las Vegas, this could have been cool, like a cool new Vegas.
I wonder what I was just thinking. This name sort of popped up in my head, but because the guy didn't do too many films, I wonder what a Jan de Bont would have done with this.
Yeah.
The guy did Speed and Twister, especially if you. It's funny because we talked about Gale Force not Gale Force, but Cliffhanger 2 earlier, and how it takes it into the Las Vegas and the climax. And this is a whole
Yeah.
film right here where it's pretty much a Die Hard and a casino.
Maybe Jan de Bont could have also done
Instead of Speed 2, do this movie.
yeah, but maybe he could have done a good cliffhanger too.
Yeah.
If he could have done it like Speed, like the first one.
He would have been a great choice too. If you couldn't get Rennie Harlan back, he would have been, to me, my second pick.
Yeah.
I don't understand why that guy never got really much of a chance. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, Speed 2 sucks, but he directed 2 great movies before that, so I mean,
Speed to me is always going to be really close to my heart. I think that's the first movie I went to see by myself. And, had a lot of great memories for that film. I saw it a couple of times in the theater.
or maybe I was trying to think maybe a Chuck Russell or the guy I know he worked with Arnold in Eraser, or I was trying to think of action directors at this time.
Like a McTiernan.
Yeah, that would be excellent. That would be even more better.
Yeah.
Well, it mentions, I guess Stallone was up for the Hitman. Who would have played the gambler? Don't say Kenny Rogers. That
John Forsythe.
would have been cool.
I could see him in there. Wait. Did I get the right one?
You mean William Forsythe?
Yeah, the one from
Alfred Justice?
yeah, Richie.
Richie, yeah.
Yeah. I could see, because that's an actor I really like too. He was in that Eric Roberts movie about the heist. That giant heist with all the dying people.
Never seen that one.
The Immortals. Such a good movie. Such a good freaking movie.
All right, how about the Mobster?
Mm.
I have a guy in mind, but I'll let you.
Oh no, go for it.
I was gonna let you. I don't know why his name just popped up on my mind, but because I don't think they ever worked together. I wonder if like a Gene Hackman
Yeah, Gene Hackman could have been really cool.
or
Maybe like a Warner Herzog or the guy from Reservoir Dogs, Big Joe. Was his name Big Joe? What was his name? The leader there.
I forgot.
Maybe him too. He could have been interesting.
Michael Madsen,
Yeah.
somebody like that. He didn't like not Armand Desante. I'm good. Oh man. Law. But yeah, it sounds really $20 million though to star in the film. What do you think about that? Stallone wanted that much.
Like I said, we can blame fucking Golden and Globus. That was the biggest trick they ever played. They made Stallone a very rich guy, I guess.
So what's your, I guess like overall take on this one? Because this sounds really fun. This should have happened.
And like they should have paid him the $20 million, honestly, because this was right before that downfall.
Yeah.
That downfall he had. So he was still worth, the $20 million. Honestly, I think he's always worth the $20 million, but he was still on fire. Since '76 till then, he was still on fire.
Yeah. Because around this time, he had just Daylight was coming out, then following that Compland, and then there was a drop off.
Yeah.
So even if like he was busy working on these other films that we mentioned at this time, he could have, said, "Hey, okay, let's try this after Copland."
Mm-hmm. And I think even like Copland was like really risque too. Like I think that that was kind of more intended as the DVD purgatory, but I think it just worked so well with the cast and how everything fit together.
that I think it overcame that. I don't think that was a really big movie. I remember it being small when it came out.
Yeah. But I think this would have, especially at this time, like you said, it was sort of like a lull, like when it comes to Sly's filmography. And this would have been like sort of that nice throwback, if you will.
Yeah.
To, with the simple sort of Die Hard scenario for the film. But yeah.
Yeah, this could have been an interesting one. Casino films are always pretty cool.
Yeah.
Always like a good.
And you can tear crap up, do it all practically, have well shot action. You can, that this is still around the time, everything. It wasn't CGI. There was no green screen. You could still get away with a lot of practical action, and you could pull it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's.
Like, can you imagine like what the nighttime shots would have looked like and the daytime shots, and just from being in casinos, like that look of it could have been really romantic. Like a romantic looking film.
Almost like, I would like to see this a little bit more than No Safe Haven, but because it seems more, I don't know what the word you could use.
It's more like an action. I think maybe it would have pushed the action a little bit better.
Yeah, with the right director.
Yeah.
But that's High Roller.
Yeah.
So now
Firestorm.
Firestorm. Is this the Howie Long one?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen the Howie Long movie, but go ahead.
Okay, I saw the Howie Long movie when it came out, and I loved it. I thought it was great. I had no idea this was a Stallone vehicle until we touched upon this, I think, on your old channel when we were talking to Jack, and or possibly right when you got your new channel. I'm not sure. Around that time somewhere. And I have a whole Mandela effect story about this. It might take like an hour to get through. But the short gist of it is, I don't remember the timelines syncing up.
You don't?
Like, I don't remember the timeline syncing up, because I could have swore I saw this when I was living with my mom. I think it came out after my mom had passed away.
Well, it came out in 98.
Okay, well, there you go. But I could have swore I saw this when I was a kid. It's just weird, like when maybe it's brain damage. I don't know.
Well,
but
if you remember,
it's like Mandela effect.
Well, Howie Long is in Broken Arrow too. Could have been that.
No, I think it was even before that. Like I want to say 92.
Huh.
I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that, like, after not seeing this movie because I saw it when it came out. I don't know. Maybe it's just my brain thinking. Probably I would say it's my brain. It's not Planet Nibiru.
You've been recalled.
But yeah, like I swear I have a memory from 92. Weird. Probably dreamed it up and just went through my subconscious. So while they gave up, oh sorry.
Sounds deep.
I know, and I was seriously I was wondering if I was like when I discovered this Mandela effect, I was really shook by it. I was like, wait a second, something's not right here. Okay, so while they gave up from their plans to cast him as lead in High Roller, Savoy Pictures still wanted to make the movie starring Stallone, so they offered him a lead role in Firestorm, another one of their action movies that they were working on, for some amount of money he won for the same amount of money he won for High Roller, $20 million. The script was by Chris Soth, who didn't write it to be turned into a movie, but he wrote it as sort of a test script, if you will, for some screenwriting program. But I guess the guys at Savoy really liked it, so they paid him $750,000 for it and bought it in 1995. when they and Stallone were involved in the project, the script was about a fireman who, during the Yellowstone forest fires, has to save female senator from escaped convicts. Shit. It would be like Cliffhanger, but in a forest fire, and not on the snowy mountains. So it was going to be a very epic action disaster film with a high budget, and it would include comprehensive visual and computer effects. I don't remember if the original was like a big budget, like the version that came out, if it was a big budget film or not.
Let me see. I'm just curious now that you got me looking.
Yeah.
Probably the only time that Howie Long got to star in something.
Mm-hmm. But I'm happy he was in it. Like, I really did like it.
Speaking of, William Forsythe is in that.
Yeah.
Scott Glenn.
And Scott Glenn. Yeah.
Let's see. Budget. Look at $19 million.
Damn. They did the whole thing for the same price, for less than Stallone.
Wait a second.
For less than it cost to get Stallone, they did the whole movie.
Funny enough, there's another film called Firestorm that came out a year before, and don't know anybody in the cast. So there's two Firestorms. How many Firestorms films did they made with Firestorm in the title?
I don't know.
I just saw it. Yeah, there's a Firestorm film that came out 2000 and what? Oh, we'll get to that another time. But
this Fire Out.
There was like a couple of, I guess there was like a Firestorm sequel. Yeah,
Okay.
That came out in 2006. 3 hours long. But anyway,
I gotta watch that.
TV movie.
I gotta see that.
But anyways.
Actually, that sounds intriguing. Like, I'm writing that down now because I don't want to forget that. What year was it?
Well, the Firestorm movie came out in 2000 and... I'm sorry. The one with Howie Long came out in 98. But it seems like they made a sequel to that called Firestorm Last Stand at Yellowstone. TV movie. 3 hours long. Came out 2006.
2006.
But there's another Firestorm. There's a Firestorm movie, TV movie that came out in 1993. So I'm thinking that is the first movie to the one I just mentioned.
Okay.
So.
Wait a second. Hold on. Rewind that. Firestorm 1996?
There's one. We're going off the deep end with this. There's a Firestorm TV movie in 1993. It's called Firestorm 72 Hours in Oakland. LeVar Burton's in the cast. Never heard of it. But that has nothing to do with the Howie Long Firestorm.
Okay. I still stand by this is the one I saw.
Somehow.
I don't know. Maybe I tapped into some futuristic event.
Well, I didn't know that there was more than one. I thought it was just a Howie Long one that was just called Firestorm. I didn't know there was more than one out there, but apparently there are some TV movies with Firestorm in the title.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna watch the third one. I'm gonna watch both of those actually. But I think gotta keep watching stuff. It's better than going online. It's better than being on Facebook.
Yeah.
So when Savoy went bankrupt, Stallone left the project and script was shelved for a couple of years until 20th Century Fox picked it up and decided to turn it into a live-action movie starring Howie Long, and that's how very average 1998 film Firestorm was put together. Fox wanted to make the movie for a low budget, which would have been under $30 million, but eventually the movie was made for only $19 million. And since the original script was written to be a much bigger film, Fox had the script rewritten by 5 other writers, one of which was Graham Yost, who wrote the scripts for Speed and Broken Arrow, but the decision only hurt the movie more, and in the end, it turned out to be a big box office failure.
I wonder how this one would have turned out. I mean, I could see Sly as a firefighter. It kind of has that sort of daylight tone to it,
Yeah,
but it could be cranked up, being that it's he's dealing with the forest fire, and being in Yellowstone. I don't know.
yeah, it could have been interesting, because it's believable because of all the forest fires out there, right?
Yeah,
So
it probably would have been. I mean, again, I
there,
haven't.
there was some documentary I was watching about that, like a 5-part Netflix thing about the fires out there, how crazy they are. This could have been. It could have been. It just makes you wonder, like, seeing how good it. I thought it was really good. So seeing how good it was with the budget they had for 19, like just trying to imagine what a big scale version of that would have looked like, because it actually looked pretty good.
It almost seems like this could have been like Stallone's Backdraft with more action,
Yeah,
or like an action-packed Backdraft with Stallone.
yeah.
Only,
Like back to Die Hard movie.
yeah, Backdraft and Daylight. Mesh those
Yeah,
two together, and you get Firestorm with Stallone, and
yeah, it could have been cool.
it would have been like another disaster movie, and that sort of in that belt.
Could you imagine them trying to film this during like a real forest fire? Or do you
Yeah,
think they would have had to like build their own forest compound and light that on fire? I don't think they would have been like out in the middle of like a big dry area. Just build something in the middle of it and light it on fire, because I don't see them. I don't see them lighting California up.
well, this
I don't.
is
Even, I'm not sure like how they did the other movie. That makes me more curious to know now how they filmed Firestorm.
yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the film. I haven't heard too many great things about the one with Hallie Long, but I can imagine if Stallone, if he was the lead, I think it would have been. I think it would have been a fun. Does that sort of like that Backdraft, Daylight, you know, turn up the action a little bit.
Yeah.
It says too, comprehensive visual and computer effects, and I wonder because if this was 95, 96, so I'm thinking that they were probably working on this at that time, so you're thinking that this would have came out the same year the actual Firestorm came out.
Um, maybe could have, or could have came out earlier. Maybe, hold on, not possibly 95, 96. It would have been interesting for that time.
So
Like it would have been interesting for like maybe like 97.
yeah, because I don't know if Jack means, and again, shout out to Jack Craven.
Yep.
If he says possibly 95, 96, is that when they started working on it and they had Stallone in mind, or were they hoping to put it out at that time?
That's what I'm thinking. Like maybe it was the time that all this started transpiring.
Yeah, and then 98, maybe they've, you know. I mean, if you think it's weird to think about because between 95 and 97, it's like a lot of times you forget that Stallone had like 3 or 4 movies still that came out between those 2 years, and it's like that. Those years weren't, let's say, the years of 93 where you had Demo Man and Cliffhanger come out the same year. It wasn't like the 80s and such, but he was still working. He was still he was still tied down with all these movies.
Yeah, like it's weird too because like I can appreciate 93 more now than I could when I was young. Because it was going into that era where you could start to see like the cheapening out of movies.
Yeah,
Like Demolition Man, like that is a great movie, but you could tell if that was made in the 80s, it would have been even better. And I remember kind of picking up on that. Like Cliffhanger was different. Cliffhanger kind of took me for like a ride. It was really impressive for me to see, but like I don't know, when I saw Demolition Man in the theater, that opening shot just blew me away, and I wanted the whole movie to be like that. but it wasn't. Maybe I was just too young that I didn't see the, you know, the Orwellian side of it.
Yeah.
What they were trying to really say with it. And I didn't read the book at that time, so I don't know. Maybe I just drew it off as, oh, movies are starting to get cheap. But even Judge Dredd, I was the same way. Like I went to see it and I was like, man, they could have done so much with this.
Yeah.
So 97, like in 96, 97, I don't know.
Yeah, especially those 2 years right there, 96, 97 is when, I mean, I love Eraser with Arnold and Copland with Stallone, but, you know, at this time it was starting to, I wouldn't say downhill, but things were changing.
Yeah. Like, what did Stallone do? What did he do around that time?
96, yeah, Daylight, 97, Copland.
Okay, yeah.
Arnold had Eraser, and then right after Eraser, Arnold did Batman and Robin, so.
Oh, you know what I should mention is Happy Birthday to Sly.
That's
We've
right.
been doing this a couple of nights, and I keep forgetting to say that. And I guess Happy Birthday to Arnold, too, because his birthday is soon, right?
Yeah, the same month, I believe. Year apart.
Yeah.
But that's Firestorm for you.
And now we get to
Fatalis.
Fatalis. This is like up there with last night's discussion of what I would trade for this movie.
So what's the backstory on this one?
Written by Jeff Robin. Oh, this is Sly's Saber-Toothed Tiger movie. Even a Hunter, I would say, you know, like I would trade Samaritan for Hunter, hands down. Hands down, without a doubt. Right now, if I could say, okay, take the existing budget of whatever's left and throw it in a Hunter, go for it, because...
Or this movie, Fatalis, you know.
Yeah, get this one made.
I mean, with Stallone taking on saber-toothed tigers, like in a modern L.A., and this was, I guess, supposed to be like a sci-fi action?
Yeah.
Prehistoric saber-toothed tigers?
It has kind of like...
I'll sign up for that.
Dante's Peak kind of feel to it. Is that the one with Pierce Brosnan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has that kind of feel to it. It's just one I've always wanted to see. Like, if they made this movie, it would be great. It would be really, really great. Written by Jeff Robin in 1998 and later turned into his script. He turned his script into a novel. Universal bought the script the same year for apparently over $1 million, and sometime after 2000, they were going to make it into a film starring Sylvester Stallone. Since Robin wrote the script with Stallone in mind to play the main character. He's a pretty good character, too. So the story of the script is pretty simple. When destruction caused by El Nino hurricane on some mountains somehow revives a bunch of saber-toothed tigers who attack Los Angeles. One anthropologist and sheriff have to stop them and save the city, but they don't exactly like to work with each other. So this is mostly due to some bad history between them, and also because the anthropologist, who is going to be played by Stallone, wants to save the tigers while the sheriff wants to kill them all.
Interesting.
Yeah. So why did Universal cancel this one? I don't know. Maybe because Stallone at that point was turning into a DTV star.
Oh, direct to video.
Yeah, and even though it was partially their fault, ICU, one of the latest Stallone films on which they spent $55 million, was released direct to video after being shelved for 3 years, and it turned into a financial bomb for them. So they probably just said fuck it and decided not to make Fatalis. Interesting that if you have seen that new cut, the original Detox cut, very great. I just have to say, a lot of people bitched about that was only VHS quality. I really think that adds to the picture. When you watch it, I really think that VHS quality actually makes it a cooler viewing experience. If they would have went with that cut and not recut the whole movie into what came out, I think it would have done way better. Way, way, way better.
I have to watch ICU again. I know that much.
It's like ICU feels like it could have been the director's cut to Detox. It feels like we should have got Detox and only got ICU now. You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of backwards. But I really do like that other cut better. I think it rolls a lot better. It's just a really great cut. So I don't know if it's limited release or not, but people should get it because it's a really great package. And not only that, not only do they give you those 2 cuts, but they give you a ton of deleted scenes, other deleted scenes that aren't even in those cuts.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've heard about I've heard about that, but I don't know about the details of it.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So here's a short plot synopsis on the novel. They came from prehistory to stalk and kill. It begins as... Ooh, hold on. My screen's really, really bright there.
And we're talking about Fatalis here.
Yeah. They come from prehistory to stalk and kill. It begins as terror, so often does, with the disappearance of 2 men lost in the foothills of the Santa Ynez Mountains. Or Inez Mountains?
Inez?
Yeah.
Why N-E-Z?
Yeah. A pair of backpacks, the only evidence that they'd been near the mysterious sinkhole. An ancient fissure has been jolted in the hills. The eternal geologic movements of the earth, oblivious to the teeming metropolis of Los Angeles, sprawled out below them. Sorry, it's just the screen's really bright, so it's kind of messing with my eyes. But something is descending, stalking at night, moving ever closer to the civilization. The official response to death is more destruction. Sheriff Malcolm Gearhart wants to destroy the creature before anyone is even sure what they are, to annihilate any beast that would dare to attack man. But anthropologist Jim Grand and local newspaper woman Hannah Hughes see another way, a dangerous path, but one that might save the last link to prehistoric time. And as the human battle to steer the right course, the cats are growing closer. So there's a fun fact that Jeff Rovin wrote Vespers, another novel about super animals attacking people in a big city, which was almost made into a movie at the same time as Fatalis. Vespers was going to be about mutated giant bats who attack New York, and only veteran detective and female scientists can stop them. I wonder if actually here, I guess this answers my question. Vespers was in development at Touchstone Pictures. Barry Summerfield, director of Addams Family and Men in Black films, were involved in the project, and David Weisberg and Douglas S. Cook, who wrote the original spec for Michael Bay's The Rock, wrote the screenplay. But sadly, just like Fatalis, Vespers was canceled for one reason or another. And though Weisberg and Cook tried to get it made again around 2009.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like the giant bat concept, though. You know.
Yeah.
I like that. I got Vespers, but I haven't read it yet, and that's one I should actually read. Because I really like that giant bat. They could go back and get that bat from
Graveyard
Batman
Shift
Forever.
Yeah, Batman Forever. I know. I was thinking about Graveyard Shift for a second. That creature. And,
well, yeah, I remember that big bat.
Yeah, Graveyard Shift. Have like 5 of those haunt New York, and then Stallone could be the detective.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your creature feature pre-Isobar.
Yeah.
Or after Isobar.
On Netflix.
Or after this would be after Isobar, but I'm kind of leaning towards the saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Which
It's weird because like Hunter starts off with the cats. You know, you find out he worked a lot with cats. If they played their cards right, they could have did this and then worked it into Hunter in a way.
Which I would like to have seen that, like if they went the Fatalis, like if we would have gotten that, yeah, early 2000s. Nowadays, you know, just end up on Sci-Fi Channel, and
Yeah.
they would give it, you know, treat it like shitty CGI, and probably star Steve Guttenberg.
He used Tony the Tiger footage.
Yeah,
They're great.
or have some other, you know, lead actor like that. But anyways,
Ted Sutton definitely could do this movie.
yeah.
This would be a Ted Sutton classic.
You know
Starring
what?
Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah, fuck Joe Kinnaman. That's all I got.
With tactical black saber-tooth tigers.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that man, I would have been down for this.
Yeah, this could be interesting. So this is personally, Jack ends with personally, I love both Vespers and Fatalis. Rovin really did a great job with both novels. And man, let me tell you, I thought that Fatalis had some crazy moments. Like one of my favorites when a saber-tooth tiger jumps from top of a tree into a fucking helicopter.
Gosh.
And causes it to crash. And then walks away like it was nothing. But Vespers has some even crazier moments, like very intense chase scene involving giant bat chasing a police helicopter. And one amazing part where a huge swarm of bats show up in the skies over New York and circle around for hours until they suddenly attack the entire city and everyone in it.
That sounds cool too.
Yeah, it could have been scary.
I'm thinking about more and more. I'm like, man, I could either went with that or could have went with Fatalis.
Yeah.
It's either
Reminds me of that sonar scene from Batman Begins when he's in the prison, when he's in Arkham Asylum and he hits the fucking sonar thing and all the bats start circling in.
and make them 10 times bigger, like Graveyard Shift and.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, because you know that Sly would fight that bat.
You know it.
He'd fight all the bats. Like, yeah!
And then you would have the scene where Stallone would have to fight the bat, and he would have a training montage. You know, you're gonna.
He's got a baseball bat, and he's just walking through like.
Yeah. He's eating slabs of meat with a baseball bat. Like Rocky, but with, you know, he's got to do some bat hunting.
I am the Batman. He's got fucking one of those big bats fucking gnawing on his arm or something. He's like crying like, ah! Has to fucking sew his arm back on. Has to like do a rabies thing on himself.
Yeah.
Stab himself in the stomach like a samurai. Oh God, no.
But man, I wish we could have gotten Fatalis. I mean,
yeah,
it's such a crazy idea, but it's one that I would be down for.
Oh, definitely.
Because you pit Stallone against saber-toothed tigers. Give me that movie.
Yeah.
Who would direct it?
Who's good with animals? Who's done a good animal feature? Can you remember any good animal features?
Man,
that's a good question.
I gotta think about this.
I would like them to do everything practical too.
Exactly. Yeah, I was getting ready to say the same thing.
Practical, just beef up the. Maybe use a practical tiger, and then maybe prosthetically make it look bigger somehow, like shoot it from the bottom up, or maybe if they had to CGI it in being a little bit bigger than it was, kind of like remember like those. What was that movie with those giant rats? Or giant rats Food of the Gods.
Maybe.
You know, like how they made all the rats look bigger. Like you could tell they were real rats, but I guess they scoped them in to look bigger somehow.
Yeah, I was looking at different I don't know. I was thinking about 90s creature features, like who would take on this type of movie? Maybe it'd be crazy like oh man. Whoever directed like Lake Placid or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I should know who directed Lake Placid. I should know this. I don't want to look up Lake Placid, New York. I want Lake Placid the movie. Doing some quick research.
3 hours to Lake Placid.
Steve Miner.
Steve Miner.
Yeah, who also directed House, Friday the 13th Part 2 and 3, Halloween H2O, Forever Young, really? I'm just throwing out some names, but like creature features at the time, early 2000s, I don't know. Rennie Harlan, maybe?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I was just going to throw his name out. I'd like to see Tom Woodruff Jr. on this film, working with Bats.
It's funny you mentioned Bats because Lou Diamond Phillips did that Bats movie in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Or Stephen Sommers.
Yeah.
Who did Deep Rising and The Mummy. What does he direct? Stephen Sommers.
I'd give James Cameron a shot at this.
Yeah.
I think he could do this.
And now we're talking about God Forsaken, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, this one, I think there was a little thing in the news, but I'm not really that fresh on it. It says soon after he was in Creed and all the praise he got for his acting in that film, Stallone announced in June of 2016 how he was going to star in a thriller titled God Forsaken. Although that title was going to be changed during production, articles from that time reported how Stallone was going to play an aging ex-con with more regrets than memories. Upon hearing about his son's death, his solitude is quickly broken, and he must now protect the only family he has left and avenge a son he hardly knew. And I don't when did Sage die? Around
2012.
Yeah. Kind of makes you I don't know, like in Creed they kind of work in that. I think it's what, Creed 2, the Sage thing, and Creed 1 when he gives Adonis Polly's room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that episode of that show Green Arrow there?
I've never seen one episode.
Damn. Like he has a scene and he's talking where he plays himself in real life, and he's talking to Green Arrow, and he's saying how all these memories and stuff.
Yeah.
About his kids growing up. I don't know. I don't know if he's channeling that or if he's just, if it's acting or if he's because it really seems like he's heartbroken in a lot of those scenes.
So from what I gather, this little bit right here, and there's a little bit more info, but is this more it's an action film, but there's drama, I guess, or
yeah,
more drama forward.
It maybe could have been like a Detox style, or
like a drama with action bits, like a Copland.
Mm-hmm. Because I noticed in a lot of movies where there's there's I don't know, not throwbacks to Sage, but kind of nods. I don't know. I remember reading a lot about how he was very haunted by what happened. So I wonder if this, maybe this didn't happen because it was too close to home, or,
That's the first time I heard about it. So
maybe this attracted it to him, so he could maybe say something about what happened to him. So I'm not sure. I don't want to go too far on that, but so the script for the film was written by Daniel Casey, who also wrote the upcoming 9-film The Fast and the Furious franchise, and later Stallone, and producer Lawrence Gray, who also worked on films like 28 Weeks Later, the 2000 remake of The Hills Have Eyes, also did some work on it. It was going to be directed by Jim Mickle, who previously wrote and directed vampire horror film Stakeland 2010. I've never seen that, but that sounds interesting. And very good and underrated thriller Cold in July of 2014, which I highly recommend. However, in November of 2016, Stallone left the project for some reason just a few days before filming was supposed to start in Atlanta. At the time, it was reported how the film will still go into development with Mickle and others. However, we are a few years later, and it seems like it's safe to say it's not happening.
interesting. It would have been interesting to see. I mean, if you were to ask me, I'd much rather see this than another Creed or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been interesting, especially nowadays with his age, you know?
Yeah. Play it more, being his age, you could play it more age appropriate, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I get mad when I think about guys like Arnold and such, and it's like you're wasting the last years. And I don't want to say that. I don't want to sound grim, but you're wasting, these years on with fucking shit like Genesis, Terminator Genesis, and Dark Fate.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, Arnold is Arnold. He wouldn't have to settle for mediocre, Like the studio should already know that, we only got maybe 10, 20 years of Arnold left. Maybe 10 more years of Arnold left.
And then 10 years of politics that was wasted.
Yeah, like they should give him something that's worth his mantle.
And Stallone.
Give him something to really showcase for these years of his life.
Yeah. But anyways, it's interesting premise there.